Thank you so much, Sally. It's a real true pleasure to be here. I'm Jerron Herman. I use he, him pronouns, and I am a dark-skinned Black man with locks today, facial hair, and I'm wearing a seafoam green sweater with a tuft of polo shirt that is beige in color, and I'm in my a room that's mostly white, cream. I'm so happy to be here. I've had the extreme pleasure of helping to facilitate and be a part of aspects of rapid response. And I was also a host for another session before. Today's session on planetary exchange is so interesting to me as an independent artist that contends with languaging and intuitive knowledges. And in that vein, I've prepared a bit of a context to help and guide us through what today might entail with the two presentations that we'll be seeing today, as well as the conversations that we'll have. Today, we affirm a quality of intelligence that has been often eclipsed by the desire for progressive technology. It's indigeneity. Understood in one sense, indigeneity reflects the fact of originating or occurring naturally in a particular place. Politically, it is also the oral tradition and ancestral knowledge of First Nations, Native peoples, and how those knowledges reveal multiple aspects of our world. Yet among these two projects Eyebeam is launching today, the concept of natural revelation or natural logics flow with and without a historicized signal of Indigenous identity. This is interesting to me, right? We can ethically acknowledge and reference intuitive procedures that stem from legacies of nomadic, agrarian, and ethnic cultures to develop our futures. And we should. Our modern strategy of late interventions for cyclical problems in the society is unsustainable. What is the preempt? Nature is telling us how to engage with it. We also intuitively understand ethical behavior, but often self-interest bars us from acting collectively. I felt this, and I'm sure you have too. We must individually understand the limits of being sovereign or collectivist. But one constant and congruous idea with both is awareness of our neighbor. This concept has been flattened across our society as either absolutist or trivial, when it really is actually living, malleable. This flexibility to discern what actions necessitate intervention is rooted in relationship, from deep listening and continued commitment. We do not get it right at the outset, and an unhelpful intervention would be that which is compelled, dictatorial. But if we create equally malleable forms that persuade ourselves away from ourselves, we might also begin to actually build understanding. The minute you feel you've done it, you have not. Elevating natural intelligence is beneficial. Unfortunately, it hasn't been widely integrated into the Western canon as a legitimate tool. Today, we're repairing that. Our task of naming natural logic and lateral exchange in a modern era reminds me of the syncretic geniuses of Edouard Glissant, Glissant, or Fred Moten, who developed critical analyses of non-Western forms and sites to ultimately disengage with capitalist structures. How do we characterize the equator and demystify the global south? Sans characterization and superstition. It's in listening, not necessarily interpreting. In listening, we hear the initial determinations for sovereignty, notes on preservation of spaces, and proper stewardship of resources. Anyone's introduction to ideas that endeavor this kind of lateral exchange can correctly understand the process of decentralization. First looking left and looking right, seemingly erasing an entrenched hierarchy of knowledge. These projects do that. So let's get into it. Our first presentation was supposed to involve Timothy Morton. And actually, I'll give a space for ASL interpreters to switch. And you let me know when you're ready. Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah. Our first presentation was originally going to be given by Timothy Morton. Unfortunately, they regret that they can't be here because of their dire situation in Texas, which we are all pretty aware of. And Timothy also presented a response to what's going on. So I have the privilege of reading that for Timothy. And this is what they said. The Arctic has just reminded us that ecological issues are always social issues. Finally, thanks to these events, COVID is also one of them, we are achieving planet-scale collective political awareness. Black Lives Matter and #MeToo have arrived just in time to push this through to its logical conclusion, namely planet-scale reordering of social structures to create a world with liberty and justice for all life forms. Sadly, the Arctic is also why I can't be there in person today, as I've been without power and water. I do hope we can see each other soon, and we hope the same, Timothy. With that in vain, I'd like to invite you to, for a moment, breathe that in and exhale out an intention for the words that you heard today. So if we might take a moment, inhale, receiving what those words were. Hold it at the top. And exhale with an intention, a personal or collective intention for what that might mean for your practice, for your activism. Awesome, thank you. Then it's also my pleasure to introduce our second speaker, which will be a conversation between Nisa Mackey in conversation with Solar Protocol.